This is the newspaper review segment of Daybreak. Of course, I have a copy of the Daily Trust with me, and starting with the lead story there, it says thousands may miss Ramadan Umrah as Saudi Arabia fails to issue visas. Agents to incur losses after booking hotels. Pilgrims lament. Atop the page, El Rufai's meeting with Ribadu SDP Secretariat visit elicits reactions. That story is on page 10. Also, war on Gaza. U.S. call for immediate ceasefire at the United Nations. That story is on page 30. And also, bandits intercept bus, kidnap 8 passengers in Katsina. Fortunate situation there. Story is on page 6. And also, beside the pictorial, we'll see police demand 5.5 million naira damages from Kano TikToker Morja, page 16. That story. Okwama, don't shield troops killers. Delta governor warns monarchs. And also, northern senators demand action on Kaduna abduction. And on the picture there, we see elderly Muslim faithful queue to collect food to break their fast in Utako yesterday. And at the bottom of the page there, we see Naira appreciates to 1,382 Naira to the dollar after $7 billion forex settlement as controversy trails foreign airlines funds. These are some of the stories on the Daily Trust. We'll now go to the Nigerian Tribune, where atop the page the story says no respite for poultry farmers as product scarcity, rising costs persist. Page 6, that story. Also, Nasima kicks over CBN's lift of FX access to importation of milk, dairy products. Says new policy will discourage local production. That story is on page 7. Ed Rufai's visits to SDP stairs debate as ex-governor hosts NSA. And for the lead story, Okwama killings, GOC soldiers to remain in the creeks until Delta governor cautions traditional rulers against shielding suspects. You can read more on the lead story on page 2. And just above the lead story there and below the masthead, we see Nigeria to grow forex reserve to $35 billion by end of March. That's according to the CBN. Nigeria not owing foreign airlines $700 million. That's according to Nanta. Also, First Bank of Nigeria Holdings appoint 5 new directors as Otedola takes over. And to some other stories, we see federal government unveils mines marshals to secure mining sites. Also, let court decide who is a terrorist sponsor, according to Sheikh Gumi. That story is on page 25. Meta to introduce monetization features for Nigerian creators on Instagram in June. Also, Amotekun falls armed robbery attempt in Ondo, arrests 1. Also, 20 states fail to submit report on state police. 36 states FCT owe 1.7 trillion naira in budget support. And 1 billion liters of petrol smuggled out to benefit those not paying tax. That's according to the federal government. Well, these are some of the stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And we now move to The Guardian, where the lead story says land grabbers, speculators wreak havoc on citizens' investments. That story is on page 4 and 5. There's, of course, a picture that shows the 1978 Land Use Act is due for review, and it says despite laws like the Lagos Property Protection Law 2016 and Ogun State Prohibition of Forcible Occupation of Landed Properties, armed robbery, kidnapping, cultism, and other anti-violence and related offences law, which has formulated in 2016, land grabbing remains a menace. And also, 2 students nabbed for faking own kidnap in Lagos. Our story is on the Metro page 8. Population of displaced children hits 1.8 million. Fortunate there. That story is on the news page 3. Also, terrorists kill 6, injure many in Katsina. How Nigerian army will fish out killers of 17 soldiers by GOC 6 Division. Also, CBN Agric Fund, Nexim pushes recovery as federal government moves to weed out fake farmers. Also, Delta Assembly orders Oberiburi to investigate Okwama killing. Stop interfering. NLC doesn't own Labour Party, Aburi tells Ajero. Stakeholders seek action against Nigeria's $10 billion yearly procurement fund. Our stories on the business page of The Guardian. And of course, these are some of the stories scattered on the front page of The Guardian newspaper. And we now go to Vanguard now. Lead story says, killing of soldiers. Okwama women, children trapped in forests for 6 days. Neighboring communities refuse to accept Okwama residents. Starvation looms in Igbomoloturu in Bayelsa over military siege. Residents can't farm fish. Man abandons wife, escapes with 2 children. Oberibori warns traditional rulers against shielding suspects. Killing of 17 soldiers, attack on Nigeria's sovereignty. That's according to the federal government. And also, governors condemn killing, observe minute silence in honor of slain personnel. Okwama killings could snowball into a bigger conflict, according to General Olariwaju, retired. An independent probe of Delta killings will indict VIPs, says ex-DSS boss A. Geoffrey. And of course, we move now to the Nation newspaper. Lead story, federal government, governors slowing down work on state police. 20 states get ultimatum to submit report. Also, Labour Party NLC squabble deepens. Abure invasions of Secretariat shameful, while Labour Party chairman should go, according to WAPA. And beside that, we see no backing down until killers of Army 17 are arrested, vows GOC. Don't harbor criminals, Delta governor warns Monarch. And above the masthead, governors give conditions on new minimum wage. Ability to pay is important. Also, APC directs members to withdraw court cases in 7 days. Ibadan mourns Oba Balogun as Makinde Ladoja visit family. Stories on page 5. I won't seek ticket to run for Ondo governor, says Jegede. And on the belt, just below the page, we see BUA gets tax credit, contract on 60 kilometers Benin Lokoja Road. And these are the stories on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And to Daily Times, above the masthead, we see NIMET to deepen efforts towards building climate resilient society. Also, 70% of bomb-making materials enter Nigeria under guise. That's according to the Interior Minister. Also, US, Nigeria, others unveil food security strategic country plan. Our story is on page 2. Election. Jonathan leads West African elders to Senegal. Of course, this is ahead of the presidential election in Senegal, which comes up on Saturday. Our story is on page 2. Don't shield suspects. Oberibori warns monarchs, says those who committed the evil act must face the full wrath of the law. NEC endorses takeoff of $617 million IDICE program for Nigerians, as Shatima promises to leave legacy of prosperity opportunity for Nigerians. Nigeria poised to lead Africa in digital technology. That's according to the president. And finally, we go to the Punch newspaper. Beside the masthead, we see Delta bloodbath. State warns monarchs against shielding suspects, according to Governor Oberibori. Atop the page, we see NLC wants minimum wage April. Governors warn against bloated demand. Besides that, states owe federal government 1.7 trillion naira budget loans. Also, naira appreciates to 1,382 naira to a dollar. Presidency cautions speculators. And the lead story there reads 16 governors back state police. Submit report to federal government. Federal government awaits 20 state report, says NEC presidency source insists all governors want state police. Incorporate state police into constitutional amendments, governors tell National Assembly. Smoke out all illegal miners, federal government tells 2,200 new mining marshals. Also, scores killed as bandits sack 9 Benue communities. That story is on page 7. And also, commuters fear gridlock as construction resumes on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And finally, foreign trips, federal government may save over 5 billion naira quarterly. So these are some of the headlines across the national dailies. And this morning, we're joined in the studio by the editor of 21st Century Chronicle, Mr. Nuruddin Abdullah, to share perspectives on the review. Good morning, Mr. Nuruddin.
Good morning, Mr. Sagil.
The program. So let's start with the Daily Trust, of course. Lead story: thousands may miss Ramadan Umrah as Saudi Arabia fails to issue visas. Agents to incur losses after booking hotels. Pilgrims lament. So it's seeming like it's more travails for Nigerian pilgrimage. I mean, pilgrims. Before we were talking about the cost of the Hajj fair itself, and now here's another issue: Saudi Arabia failing to issue visas. What's your take?
Excuse me. I think it's a Nigerian thing, particularly this Umrah issue.
So it's peculiar to just Nigeria?
Mostly, yes, mostly. You know, from experience, our people normally go for Umrah, stay there. Even though the Umrah visa was in the past was just about a month, but they will stay there illegally, perform Hajj and return. But in the last 2 years, I think, or more, the Saudi authorities introduced this 3-month visa with a 2-week stay for the Umrah. So many Nigerians latch on that. But the problem is this, just like in the story that the Saudi authorities are saying, many Nigerians have traveled to Saudi Arabia for Umrah, did the Umrah, and stay back. They continuously keep on performing the Umrah.
Despite their visas.
Exactly. And everything is automated. They know when you enter, they know when you go. After COVID, the entire Hajj ecosystem has been automated by the Saudi authorities. And they give precedence to crowd management and control. So many Nigerians who are in the kingdom now, and they have performed Umrah 2 or 3 times,
are
still there, waiting for the last 10 days of Ramadan. And that was why Saudi said no fresh visas will be issued. Particularly, Nigerians are the one that mostly targeted the last 10 days. If you go to Mecca or Medina, those last 10 days, you think that you're in Kano, Abuja, National Mosque or Anur Mosques.
Because of the number of Nigerians.
Exactly, that particularly target that time. So they say no fresh visas, because the place is already congested. Allow other nationals to perform the pilgrimage. So that is the issue. More or less, it's a Nigerian thing, if you look at it this way. And I was discussing with someone, he said, no, but you shouldn't book tickets when you don't have a visa.
Indeed.
Well, so you see that the tour operators are complaining that they have booked hotels.
So are you saying that they one way or the other compounded these problems for themselves?
Definitely. Because you should get visa before you get a hotel. You should buy a ticket.
So why would you pay for all of those services when you've not gotten the visa?
You understand? So that's the problem now.
Okay.
So mostly it's a Nigerian.
So let's now go away from this issue, and El-Rufai is back in the news again. I see you're smiling. I really want your take on his meeting with Ribadu and also the SDP Secretariat.
After the story broke, the pictures his men, his media handlers, released the Ribadu visit after his pictures of visit to the FDP secretariat, heightened or deepened speculations about likely defection. It was clear since his rejection by the Senate that Arabaia, has been in the political lull as such. I saw Muyiwa, trying to, sort of philosophize the entire thing. But yes, Ribadu visited him at home. Gabam, the national chairman of the FDP, was hosted in Arabaia's residence for iftar. People must speculate. It's a political season. We know how it ended with him, with the Senate and the presidency. And now you saw the man visiting the FDP national headquarters. If Gabam is Arabaia's friend and he's trying to do it, maybe say he wants to pay back after he hosted him, he should visit Gabam's home, not the FDP secretariat. The last thing he did was we saw him saying that he was trying to create the virtual wealth to empower some youth and what have you. Since that time, we didn't hear anything until we saw him, bam, on him and Jimmy Lawal and Co. at the FDP secretariat. And he has a very frosty relationship, even with his successor in Kaduna. Not to talk of the federal government that he worked for, or the Senate that rejected him and what have you. So it's a political, people have to read meaning. Yes, or did he go to the FDP secretariat for iftar?
Maybe he did. I mean, we never can tell. It's a political season, so maybe they decide to share.
I saw his handlers trying to say no, Nigerian. Nigerians are free to speculate. It's a political season. He hosted Gabam at home. If Gabam wants to host it for iftar, Gabam has a residence in Abuja, not the FDP secretariat.
Of course. Well, let's see how that pans out in the coming days. We do hope that Madam Nasir El-Rufai would grant an interview to clarify some of these issues as well. But then moving on, 16 governors back state police submit reports to the federal government. Federal government awaits 20 state report, says NEC presidency source insists all governors want state police. Incorporate state police into constitutional amendment, governors tell National Assembly. So it's looking like the state police is becoming more and more a reality.
Yes, and unfortunately.
Why unfortunately?
Thank you very much. If you look at the attitude of some of these governors, some of them are even using the federal police to harass opposition and even journalists.
Indeed.
I remember one of our colleagues here in Trust, was abducted in the precinct of the National Assembly and taken to Jigawa.
We saw what happened with Agba Jalingo as well in Cross River State.
And these are federal police that kowtow to the whimsicalities of the state governors. Why, if you give them their own
police? Well, we unfortunately have to just talk here because of time, of course. Nuruddin will be back with us next week, Friday, to discuss, of course, more issues and developments in the news. Unfortunately, this is where we wrap up the program. Nuruddin, thank you so much for your perspectives. Hopefully next week, of course, it's Ramadan. I expected some palliatives. Maybe we'll talk about it after. We'll talk about it after the program. But then, viewers, thank you very much.